Hello. I wonder how you pray when life gets really, really tough, when the hits the fan. In previous thoughts for the day, I've encouraged you to spend time in lament, bringing your true feelings before God. At times I've directed you to the Psalms of Lament, but today I'd like to turn to a different book of the Bible, and that's the book of Job. In case you don't know the account of Job, it's an amazing example of how one man prays in a time of absolute crisis in his life. And it shatters, if you like, the stereotypes of what it can mean to communicate with God. We hear of Job, of how he loses absolutely everything. He loses his health, he loses his livelihood, he loses his family, he loses everything that was ever dear to him. Here we have a God-fearing man, a righteous man, who we discover that even with that isn't exempt from the pain of unimaginable suffering. And as his sufferings unfold, he gets some very interesting responses from his well-meaning friends. But oh, how unhelpful those responses turn out to be. You see, what his friends are doing is they're desperate to try to find ways to give reasons for Job's suffering. It must be because of this, Job, or because of that thing that you've done, or they're trying to explain it. And they offer glib platitudes along the way. Those of you who've experienced deep suffering or pain or bereavement will know, I'm sure, what it feels like to receive those kinds of platitudes. And they really don't help, do they? When people try to make it all better, when actually they can't make it all better. There aren't any answers when we really encounter the depth of some of our pain. At the end of the day, suffering really is a mystery. And so here we have Job, and he's having to learn to live through the mystery of his suffering. And we hear him speaking to God. And isn't it interesting to hear what some of the things are that Job says? The polite, respectful words that you'd usually expect from somebody in prayer are gone. None of that. What Job does instead is he dares to confront God. How dare he? That's blasphemy, surely. Richard Rohr writes this. He says, Job yells at God and he accuses God of all kinds of things. He speaks sarcastically and he almost makes fun of God. If this is a game you're playing, he says, then you're not much of a God. I don't need you and I don't want you. Have you ever prayed like that? I wonder whether you believe that it's okay to pray like that. You know, we can only really pray like that when we know experientially the love of God deep down, when we know of that secure relationship that we have with him, whatever we do or say. When we know that we can't connect with God just through our minds, just through theory, but we can only do it through experience. You see, Job's friends were trying to understand God through theory, through their minds and thoughts. Job, on the other hand, was learning that he could connect with God through his deep down experience of him, and he could be real with him in that way. You see, God can't just be known through theory and theology. Yes, those things can help us. Of course, they can and they do. But we can't actually get to know God deep down by thinking. We can only really get to know him by loving, by relating, by trusting, by experiencing. And that means crying out to him in the midst of the mystery of our lives, which so often don't have easy answers. That means bringing our true selves, our pain, our anger, our frustrations, and to know him walking and holding us as we go through those. He walks beside us and he holds us in the mysteries of our pain and suffering. Does he solve the mysteries? Not always, maybe even not often, but he always journeys with us in them. It's as we journey with God through the mystery, without trying to solve it all the time, but simply journeying with them in it, being real with them along the way, that we can really begin to know God in here and not just in here. I invite you in this time of mystery, as we continue to navigate the mysteries of the COVID crisis, to be real with God, to learn what it means to trust him, to bring your true self to him, and to allow him to love you and to reach out to you as he holds you and walks with you in the mystery. God bless.